And these are the questions Stephen A. Smith needs to answer. And he keeps ducking answering this question.
Now, this man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The man cannot play the game of basketball. He has small hands. He can't catch the ball. He's got bad feet. He can't really move, even though he's mobile. Doesn't really know what he's doing. Doesn't have a post move that he puts to memory that he can do 2 times in a row. He has no game whatsoever. Plays no defense. Doesn't have the heart, the passion, or anything that comes with it.
So that's what the Pelicans did, and they used that Photoshop taken from, remember, we had the same Photoshop, but the 17 was the number, talking about the 17 straight threes. But Stephen A's voice trash-talking everybody, and then just showing the clips and the receipts of Stephen A. This is the Pelicans doing publicly what everybody in the NBA is doing privately. And this is why you know the whole media ecosystem is rigged and phony. They never talk about publicly, generally speaking, what they're talking about privately. They never get at the truth. But Stephen A. is feeling the heat because I'm sure his DMs, his text messages, his little private conversation, he can feel that everybody is laughing at him. Everybody knows Stephen A. Smith is a fountain of BS. And it's eating at him. And so yesterday, Stephen A. Smith circled back to address what the Pelicans did to him over the weekend. He's trying to stop. He's trying to put a Band-Aid on a dam that has broken. He's trying to plug a little hole, and he's seen other little holes, and he knows that if the Pelicans get away with publicly dissing him, it won't be long before other NBA and or NFL franchises, fan bases, he could become a meme, a joke, a laughingstock over social media. And he's paid a lot of money. And the agency, I think he's represented by WME or Endeavor, whatever. I think Mark Shapiro's his agent, whatever agency he runs now, I think with Ari Emanuel. He's at the top of the food chain and the representation by one of the highest, most powerful agencies in the world. And they pay a lot of money to keep the social media beehive off of Stephen A. Smith and whoever they're representing, but it's reaching a point where it's too irresistible for the New Orleans Pelicans or Zion Williamson or some of these other people that Stephen A. Smith loves to troll, for them not to fire back and just say, you know what, Stephen A. Smith is full of BS, because they're looking at the rest of the media ignore. Like, this guy wrote a memoir that's full of so many obvious lies, and somehow he's at the top of the sports media food chain. Stephen A. has to put a stop to this, because, when I exposed all this, because of all the money that the agency pays, because of the way the system is rigged, everybody just tried to ignore, like, man, Whitlock exposed a level of fraudulence around Stephen A. Smith that's virtually unprecedented. We haven't seen this. An alleged journalist writes a book filled with this many holes and lies. Everybody ignored that, and what they were paid to do, all the blogs, everybody knew, nope. Don't cover any of the issues and the truth that Whitlock exposed. Cover Stephen A. Smith calling Whitlock a bunch of names. Make that the story. Not that the guy at the top of the sports media industry is a complete fraud and lying in a book. No, the real story here is that Stephen A. Smith went on a podcast and name-called Jason Whitlock. Everybody write about that. Everybody make YouTube videos about that. And that's a nice little delay tactic. But Stephen A. can't handle the fact that everybody in the NBA and in the sports world is laughing at him behind his back. And he knows that they're going to start laughing at him in front of his face and for the world to see. And so he's chosen to circle back and try to make an example of the New Orleans Pelicans. So here's what he recorded yesterday as he is starting to publicly melt down and break down because the heat is too much for him and he's not built for this. He's built for when the wind is at his back and Bob Iger and his agent and agency have everything laid out on a platter for him and everyone's afraid to question and go at Stephen A. Smith. I have basically legalized and given people the ammo. Like, no, man, you ain't got to take this garbage from Stephen A. Smith. He's uninformed. He's living a lie. He doesn't know anything about sports. He's highly insecure. No one that lies this much has any ounce of confidence about them. So here's Stephen A. Let's play SOT number 3, I believe. This is the first 90 seconds, 100 seconds of his response to the New Orleans Pelicans.
In New Orleans, you didn't think I was going to let you off the hook, did you? I don't know who put you up to that. But you need to be educated a little bit more about Stephen A. Smith. So allow me to educate you. Number one, I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me that you troll me. I can take it. You see, do you realize that at Division II Winston-Salem State, I could have been on the court averaging 20 to 25 a game, and I still wouldn't compare to a single one of y'all who've made it to the NBA? Do you understand that I know that no matter how you gloss over anything, meaning myself or anybody else, I don't compare to y'all? But your stats are wrong. 1.5 points is less than that. I was hurt. I was hurt. Go to the hospital in Winston-Salem. 1989. I cracked my kneecap in half. They told me I might never be able to walk the same again. And even though I maintained my scholarship, I was nothing more than a practice player because I couldn't run up and down the court more than 3 or 4 times without limping. How do we know this? Because I'm 56 and I still limp after running for a little while. I'm not lying. Period.
Yes, you are. And you know how we know you're lying? Because you're saying you're not lying. You are lying. And this whole, go to the hospital. I love that comment. Go to the hospital and let's get the records of I cracked my kneecap in half. Notice what's missing if you watch the whole video. What he doesn't go to now is, I have a 6-inch screw in my knee. He's completely dropped that because he knows how comical and stupid that is. But let me refresh your memory with how Stephen A. used to unpack this story where he talked about having the, and I've got the 6-inch screw here on my, that this, a screw this size, this long is in his knee. He used to say that constantly. Let's play that SOT. Let's play that clip.
My bone cracked in half. My first year at Winston-Salem State. I still have those knee pains to this very day. Still. In the knee that still has a 6-inch screw in it that I never took out.
Remember, he's got a 6-inch screw at one point in his knee that he never took out. Now that he realizes how ridiculous that is, he's massaging the lie. And so Now it's just, hey, I cracked my kneecap in half. I'm not going to mention this 6-inch screw in my knee. The other thing that he will not mention, and I want to play you all, or I want to show you all, this is one of the biggest smoking guns, because now he didn't play any games, and it's less than that. I didn't score any points, and because I cracked my kneecap in half, and I can't, somehow he's arguing that he stayed on the team as a practice player, but he couldn't run up and down the court more than 2 or 3 times without limping and his knee hurting. Anybody that's played college sports at any level, Division I, 1AA, Division II, Division III, make it make sense. If you played college athletics at any level, football or basketball, or even baseball, hockey, I don't care. Was there anybody that was on your team and allowed to maintain a scholarship who could only go up and down the field or court or ice, or only go a couple of times across a tennis court, who could only do that 2 or 3 times without severely limping? Who gets to stay on the team? Division III level, 2, 1AA, or Division I? Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that? Is that a possibility? But more than that, and these are the questions Stephen A. Smith needs to answer, and he keeps ducking answering this question. Put the stat sheet up from the 90-91 season. That stat sheet, the guy underlined and highlighted there, is named Stephen Smith. And there's a stat sheet, depending on whether you get it from Winston-Salem State or whether you go to the NCAA's records, that says he played 9 games on one of these deals and 10 games on the other. I can't remember which is which. Did we get it from Winston-Salem State that it was 9 games, or the NCAA that said 10 games? Who is that Stephen Smith? Answer that question. He just put on a video responding to the Pelicans about his basketball career. We've seen other videos where he was on ESPN's platform, and I've played that for you all, where they mocked him, Malika Andrews and Jalen Rose and J.J. Redick. They mocked him. And he said, it was less than that, I played 1 game. I only played 1 game, and that's why I averaged 1.5 points. And then a few months later, he came out with a video that said, I played 0 games because I cracked my kneecap in half and I have a 6-inch screw in my knee. Who is the Stephen Smith that played 9 games at Winston-Salem State? Or is this entire thing a scam, a fraud, something Winston-Salem State is perhaps in on in using Stephen A. Smith as a tool to promote their university and raise money? Have they gone along with this scam that Stephen A. Smith has been executing? Oh, Big House Gaines was like a father figure to me. Big House Gaines writes a book, never mentions his adopted son, Stephen A. Smith. Oh, I wrote a column when I was a member of the basketball team calling for Big House Gaines to step down. Oh, Jason Whitlock hunted up that story. It did not happen. Someone named Stephen Smith wrote a review of the season. It never called for Big House Gaines to step down. It's a lie. Oh, in February in 1988, I had a outdoor basketball practice with a former Winston-Salem State player, and I was so impressed that the next weekend he drove me to Winston-Salem State for a tryout where I hit 17 straight three-pointers and I got a scholarship on the spot. It makes no sense. No one that hears the story, no one that's followed, you don't even have to have played. Anybody that's followed college athletics, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. He's lying. And he can point all the attention at me and, oh, Whitlock's a fat bastard and everybody hates him. Let me cop to that. I'm a fat bastard. And many people in the sports media hate me. They hate me for the very reason Stephen A. Smith hates me. I have a 30-year career of calling them out for BS and lies. 30 years. And I put out my whole list of top 50 media beefs. It's white people, it's black people, it's Jewish people that I've been calling out for 30 years. And yes, they hate me. I'll cop. Stephen A., what are you willing to cop to? Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.